Hey guys, welcome back to Double the Hustle podcast. I'm Tori.
And I'm Anna, and today we sit down with Sean O'Connor, a licensed mental health professional and trauma psychotherapist. We talk all things about how meditation can help you overcome your traumas, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day. Let's go.
And they're like, they're walking around at 100 and they don't see the value in taking that 100 to like a 95. And they're like, I'm still stressed out. But it's like, look, no, you actually were able to maintain a calm brainwave state for this period of time. So
that's actually so wild.
It gets the buy-in to doing more like relaxation techniques instead of just thinking they're all.
Wow, that's really crazy. That's
that
cool.
is crazy because sometimes I think they're bullshit.
Yeah.
Like if I'm meditating in like the morning or, it's like sometimes at night, I'll do like a 5 or 10 minute meditation because I can't then I'm like, shit, I want to go to bed already.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think to myself, like, when sometimes they're like, all right, see yourself doing this. And I'm like, I cannot see myself. It's dark. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I think to myself. And I'm like, is this bullshit? Like,
What is a brain level though of meditation? Like a brain state? 95? Is that like?
Oh no!
Or is that just numbers?
I'm just using numbers for just a general metric of just saying like someone walks around like on 100, like they're max stressed out.
Yeah.
Most people, this is like right into the trauma conversation. Like most people that are just like completely addicted or just like they've been carrying that stress their whole life. They don't know. They're like their baseline is a 9 out of 10 on the stress level.
Jesus.
It's like being, people who have chronic pain, like they might say like, nothing hurts, but like something does. They're just used to always being at.
Yeah. You're numb to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. But it's the brain wave you want to be. So like alpha is like relaxed focus. Delta, it goes delta is you're sleeping. Theta is halfway between sleeping and awake.
Yep.
Alpha is relaxed but focused, and then beta is like more excited, where you're like really concentrating on something. Then within each of those, they have their own ranges, where there's like mid-range beta, and then like high-range beta is more like panic and high excitement.
Oh, I didn't know.
Low-range beta would be like while we're having this conversation. Meditation is like alpha and theta, and that's the most creative state, theta.
Oh, so the more you can get yourself into theta, like the better. That's like the better you can be, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's like the hardest.
Yeah,
right?
It's like they induce that through like I don't do hypnotherapy, but I use like elements of that to do trauma processing and helping people visualize like where if you can do like mental rehearsal. And it's huge in athletes like for like visualizing themselves.
Like winning?
Yeah, they want to be in an alpha or theta state to really create that scenario where they see themselves competing that way.
So therapists will actually do that to them?
Yeah.
How?
I've seen it.
Like through like talking or
just guiding. Yeah, it's it's breath work and then just opening your focus, taking your focus off of your body, off of the environment, and off of the passage of time.
Wow, that's
and really
pretty cool.
Just focusing on like open space.
You know who does it a lot? Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Have you seen him do it? Like he does it before every fight. I don't know what the guy's name is, but he's like a famous like therapist and like breath work person, and he works with Jake Paul, and you'll see him like sitting in the ring like before like a fight or something like that, and he always works with him like before every fight. Like
I
fight
did not
week,
know that.
he's working with this person like every day for like breath work and visualization, like sitting in the ring
winning
of
or
him
whatever.
winning.
Oh wow.
Too.
I did not know
really
that was such
cool.
a thing. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Damn.
I know. It's really cool. But we'll get into all that stuff. But let's start with like how you grew up, how you got into it. Tell everybody like a little bit about yourself, what you do now, and just how you got to where you are.
Yeah. So again, my name is Sean O'Connor, and by trade, I'm a licensed mental health counselor, trauma psychotherapist, whatever you want to call it. I help people transform their trauma into a deeper sense of purpose, kind of recycling the pain of what's happened to them, kind of reprocessing what's happened to them, attaching new meaning to their experiences.
Wow.
And it was a long journey to get there.
Yeah, that's like so deep.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's
actually kind of cool to think about. Like,
I always knew I wanted to.
It's hard and painful.
Yes.
For you,
Yeah.
for you to say, I can't even.
I always knew that I wanted to be in a helping profession. I knew I wanted to study psychology. That's how it started. A lot of us in this field, we really end up studying it because we want to figure out what's going on with ourselves or our families.
Right.
And that's a nice front. It's a nice gateway to get into it.
Yeah.
But just as long as I could always remember, like I have this fusion of like my dad is very scientific, not so emotional, but very, very, very like raw intelligence and very curious. I always had a lot of books, and I was just consuming a lot of material about like the theories of just like everything, why things are the way they are. And then my mom was more of the personality, like could have a full blown conversation with a stranger out of nowhere, and you would think that they knew each other forever. And I feel like just kind of in a nutshell throughout the course of my life, I just kind of put that together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because that's what therapy is. Therapy is a intersection of creativity and like communication and science. And that's really what it is. It's building relationships and then using the science behind how our minds and bodies work to help them to intersect with that.
That's really cool. Did you grow up, where'd you grow up? In New York?
Yeah, born and raised Westchester.
Oh, cool.
Nice. I'm your garden variety, Westchester County, Irish Catholic.
Yeah.
Few screws loose, need for speed.
Yeah.
Mischievous. Got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And it was always after the fact.
Yeah.
I always did stupid shit, and then right after I'd be like, oh, that was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Dealing with the repercussions. So I had a lot of guilt. I had a very guilty conscience. I was very afraid to like disappoint people, like teachers, parents, coaches. That was the worst thing ever. Like I wasn't afraid of anything more than just someone being like, I'm disappointed in you.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up with that classic, like just go to your room and think about what you've done. And, I thought. I did a lot of thinking, and that really that thinking is what segued into what I dealt with more as a teenager, where it was really just kind of getting attacked.
When did you know that you wanted to go into like therapy and like helping others?
The first class I took in high school, my senior year, that sparked the interest, just the intro to psychology. And then in college, it was across my freshman and sophomore year. Just kind of leaning more and more into it, having more conversations with my friends that were in my classes with me outside of the class. I was like, this is everything else I can't stand.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool when you're talking about it, but as soon as we get out of that lecture, that's it. Psychology courses were the ones where I was like, I can't stop thinking about this. And being on a huge campus with so many people to just kind of people watch and just observe. It really
that's what I learned in class today, right
like,
there.
Like what is really like what is that person carrying, or like look how that person's standing within that group.
Right.
And then so that it was definitively at the end of my sophomore year where I took a couple of courses where I was just like that's a gut feeling. I was like, this is what I'm going to study.
That's really cool. Yeah. It's hard. I mean, we took it in high school. Like I think everybody, I don't know if everybody takes it in high school, but we took it as like a college class in high school, and it was probably one of the most intense classes, but most relatable. Yeah. You know, because like you're sitting in class and like they're telling you like all these theories that like everybody does. And you're like, I do that. I do that. I do that, you know? So it's like, but it's so much information to learn that it was actually like a hard class to learn, but like I'm saying, like the most relatable that you could get to a class, because who's using like triangles in math every day? Nobody.
Right.
But like when you step into this class, like you're doing this every day, or your parents are doing this. That's
it's the study of human behavior, and we are human.
So it was like so crazy to sit in that class and like just relate to like everything, whether you knew somebody who did it or it was yourself that was doing it. It's so relatable.
Yeah, it'll make you start to question every step you take and wonder why you do the things that you do.
No, exactly.
It'll put language to this is what it was for me. It put language to the way that I already saw things. Like I in retrospect thought a lot about things and I just didn't have the words to put to it. But like, and then I'd studied psychology, and it was just like, oh, like that's what that phenomenon is called.
But
just to your point about how hard it was, I actually which is wild to think now how deep in it I am. I failed Psych 100 in college. Well, I begged for extra credit. So my professor was a real one. I'm like, it was my first semester. It was like a 500-person lecture. And every class,
it's so hard.
You're going from neuroscience to social psych to personality psych to abnormal psych.
Like,
and
which class was that again?
Yeah, and you're like still thinking about all of the phenomena that you talked about before. And
so
I'm
hard.
like, and just all of the other things that go into trying to adjust to college.
Yeah.
So I retook it once I picked it as a major and got an A. So I just think that's funny. It's like, everybody's like, oh, did you know Einstein flunked math? And I'm like, I'm not comparing myself to him. I love when people, if people give any kind of praise for like how much you know about something, I'm always like, oh yeah, but it was like over a decade since I started studying it where I had any kind of, where I feel fluent in being able to discuss it with people.
Yeah, because it is, and it's so much, everybody's different. Everybody has a past that's created their trauma, now. And it's like we said, everybody's different. So like trying to help like me heal from trauma versus you heal from trauma versus you heal from is all different.
I love that you said that too, because there's so many examples with like identical twins too. Like that's
oh really?
That points,
tell us, because that's crazy.
That points to the individuality of everybody and how it's literally like your DNA is identical.
Yeah.
But the individual, if the individual therapy sessions for both of you in the course of therapy could be completely different. Like sure, you're talking about maybe the same roof over your head,
right?
But could respond to different techniques, totally different capacities. And like, I think that's the coolest thing in the world is no matter how many people have had the same like categories of things happen to them, there is no two people that come in and present the same. And I think that was being an athlete.
Right.
And the unpredictability, especially of football, just being like, well, you go from this sport where like there's a chance that you might be paralyzed or even killed if you hit something the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's a little bit dramatic, but like,
no,
it's a violent, it's a legal fight. And then I'm like, what career is going to match that? But I had a mentor help point this out to me. I was like, why do I get so like lit up before a person comes in my office? And it's like, it probably is the same feeling as before the first play where like you set the tone, like you don't know how it's going to be. And then all of a sudden you make contact with the guy and like, you're like, okay, this is what this game's going to be like.
Yeah.
With a person, I don't know if they're going to come in and say, I'm having a hard time getting over my breakup, or I just got assaulted yesterday, or I've dealt with this much death in my life. Like, or it could be like the most horrible, just like pure, like evil happened to this person, or like what we call milk and cookies problem. And like when you don't know, that's very exciting. Not that I get excited about people's heinous trauma, but like just being able to like not knowing exactly what's coming in. I think the unpredictability was like that. I found that in this field.
I think that's really cool, and I would be interested to like.
I know that'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah, to see like where we would differ or like be the same, because we talked last time about like the tale of two twins and how like perspective, like how you take perspective, and one of them maybe took perspective this way and one of them took it totally left or totally right. And I think that we take things similarly.
Yeah.
So like I would be like interested to see, like, obviously if our perspectives were totally different, I would expect it to be totally different. But like we're like very
we
similar.
do a lot of the same things.
So like I would be interested to see like how that would like play out.
Do you ever, when you're not geographically in the same place, do you ever get like almost like telepathy in a way where you're sensing something and then one of you texts the other or calls the other and you're like, oh, I was thinking the same thing?
Yeah. So like it happens to us more of like an emotional like feeling.
Yeah.
Not so much as like I was gonna say the same thing as you. It's not like that, but it's more of like something's wrong.
Yeah.
Like feeling, or like something's like right. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The best example of that is the Luttrell brothers, the lone survivor story.
No.
Marcus Luttrell was the Navy SEAL.
Okay.
Got was alone in Afghanistan for like 4 or 5 days and survived. And he was MIA, but his twin brother back home, the whole family was like, oh my God, like we think he's dead. And his twin brother was like, I know that he's not. And they all just thought that they all thought that it was him being like overly positive and optimistic.
It would be me too. I'd be like,
but looking
no.
back, they're like, nah, like at least personally, I believe that he
knew.
He was like, no, trust me, like I would know if he actually wasn't alive. And I think he is. So
that's crazy.
That is really
that's
cool.
wild.
Absolutely incredible movie.
Is that a movie? Oh my God, I want to watch it.
Yes. Incredible movie, but even better book.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And that's, I would say like the way that like we feel, I would say that like that's like totally possible because, but that's like insane to see like on that kind of level of like far apart and across the world.
Yeah.
But like he was still like, no, like he's still
that's crazy.
somewhere.
That's
like
wild.
don't give up in a sense, you know, like that's crazy to see. I want to get into a little bit more of like the trauma and like what you kind of like see in terms of like how you help people deal with their trauma and stuff like that. Did you get into it because you like dealt with trauma growing up, and did you have to like heal? How'd you heal from your trauma before you could help people with theirs?
Yeah. Oh, there's so much there.
Yeah.
I did eventually.
Yeah.
I thought that I could do it. I thought that I could do it without ever really tapping into my own.
Gotcha.
I thought that I could just intellectually overpower like the emotion of a situation, where if someone was coming in and they were sharing the same stories with me, and I was like, okay, like all I have to do is just appreciate the things that I have and how good everything is, and my life is awesome despite whatever happened to me.
Yeah.
And just, you know, really care about this other person's case and like really pay attention to it and work hard and like help them. No idea that from the neck down is what really matters.
Yeah.
It's in your body, and especially a person with any kind of traumatic stress still stuck in their body is very perceptive of what else is radiating off of other people. To our point about distance and feeling an emotional sense, like there's a signature to that. There's an actual electromagnetic signature to that comes off of us based on what we're feeling. And it wasn't until I bottomed out so badly in my personal life in 2023 where I had to I did this training. Yeah. The training, the intent behind it was like, I need to learn another way to help people because something's not clicking. Like I don't feel like I'm doing a good enough job. I'm stuck.
Okay.
So I took this curriculum called Heart Math, and what that was a protocol for getting people to start living and feeling again in their heart and not just in their minds. And learning all about the physiology of emotions and coherence, being on the same wavelength, frequencies, energy. It's very like energy psychology, which is very hot right now.
Cool.
A lot of science coming out of that. And it was basically, long story short, just teaching people how to breathe back into their bodies and use gratitude and other positive emotions and harness the actual physiological power of that to regulate themselves and like put their mind and their bodies back on the same page. Because that's what, in a nutshell, trauma really is. It's a split.
Yeah.
Your mind is thinking one thing and your body is telling you another.
Right.
So this Heart Math was using the physics, and it actually helped more people with psychological problems studying like physics and like chemistry and math more than like any kind of psychological theory. So that was when in doing that training, I started to tap into some things that I knew were problematic for me. I just like realized them because I was getting more in touch with, like I was getting underneath my own ego. Yeah. But interestingly enough, I think in 2022 or 23, I did EMDR, but I was still using a lot. So I was stunting the amount of benefit that I could get from that.
Really?
So I've never gotten back into it, but I've done an enormous amount of work just with like, just being sober and just living a much healthier and more intentional and aligned lifestyle. And I've been able to help a lot more people doing literally doing more with less effort.
Right.
Not that I'm like trying less hard, but like I don't need to work so hard intellectually.
Right. Yeah.
Like me just being grounded and having like, it's so cliche, it gets such a bad rap that like people think, oh, vibes, energy, like whatever, it's just woo woo, like bullshit.
but it's
not
true.
like just being more
Present.
yes, being actually, that's exactly what it is. It's being more present. When you breathe into your heart and you're focused on your heartbeat, that's almost as present as you could be.
Yeah.
And when you're present, you're giving somebody an anchor to kind of come down to and kind of mirror, which is a whole bunch of biology built into how we do that.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
That's crazy.
yes, yeah. So much there.
Yeah.
What is one thing that like everyday people do and they don't realize that's like a trauma response that they should like look out for?
I think the most common example of that now in everyday life is an inability to tolerate an idle mind, like just stillness.
Yeah. That's true with me.
Yeah, and
That
again,
is so true because I feel like my brain is
Like keep moving, like
racing.
and I should say that this is all like, there are no absolute psychological truths.
Yeah.
Right,
The only universal truth in psychology and human behavior is that it depends. So it always depends. Like we all get stuck in like that busyness is good and like I gotta keep moving. I feel like I'm not being productive enough.
Right.
But if someone literally, it's literally negatively affecting their life. It's persistently, they're not getting things done and they feel like violently uncomfortable and they're having panic attacks if they're not stimulated.
Yeah.
So it's all about the degree of dysfunction that you feel. But that's a really common one, is that people can't just let their minds wander without being stimulated with no external input. So that's a huge one. Relationally is going to be your defense and your attachment systems going at it, which is, I want someone to be in a relationship with,
Right.
and then when they get within arm's length, boom, put it up, keep them arm's length, or even push them away.
Hurting the other person, essentially. Too.
Yes. Nobody, I cannot stress it enough, nobody is unlucky enough where every single person they've ever been with has been so shitty that it's 100% that person's fault. Like it's always a two-way street.
Right.
But
Yeah.
If it takes two to tango.
Right.
And
If you find yourself with the same situations where it's like, if you really want, like it's hyper independence, just polarized with like dependence on someone else. Like I want a relationship so badly, but this other part of me is terrified of it, so I'm gonna push it away. That's a trauma response, indicative of childhood containing like relationships that were push and pull and very unpredictable, not knowing what kind of, not knowing
what
like
was coming next,
parent or
maybe.
caregiver, sibling, like if it was very hot and cold, that will directly lead to like adult relationship patterns like that. And then biologically speaking, like physically, I mean, I think after everything I've studied, I think all disease is just like low frequency, low coherence, just things being out of alignment in your body. If things are shut down too much or turned up on too high of a voltage, like something's going to give. So sleeping too much, not being able to sleep, digestive issues, difficulty focusing. That's the hard one. That's the big controversial topic, is ADHD organic?
Yeah,
or
is it
or
like,
is it trauma
I hear
response?
that a lot.
Yeah.
Like so many people are like, no, don't give your kid medicine. It's like, that's
It's
like,
a
that's
gift.
actually good for them. Yeah, it's a gift. Then some people are like, no.
So that autoimmune conditions, like, you hear this a lot too, like people aren't meant to have like multiple your immune
lupus,
system
like
isn't
that?
That's one of
You
them.
see
high
that
of a
popping up
level?
all the time when someone's like so stressed, but now they have an autoimmune disease.
Yeah, and they've even done studies with like the types of cells that recognize whether something is brand new, like into like a foreign body that's brand new, or your body can recognize it. So like you always say, there's certain sicknesses where when you get it once, the next time you get it, it's a little less intense.
Yeah.
Sign of trauma is that like a person that instead of just getting regular head colds, like they might just always get this like vicious sinus infection and they're knocked out for a week or two, and it comes with nausea and migraines and like so their immune response never adapts. Like it's just always like on overdrive.
Wow.
Because it's so concerned with survival that it can't build any long-term defense strategy. So
it just keeps happening. It's like a cycle.
Exactly.
Just keeps going.
It just stays in the on position. If you leave anything on for too long, right, it's going to just burn out.
Yeah.
Right, or start to spark and
create
catch fire.
Chaos. Yeah, exactly.
So how does like somebody every day just start by like realizing what their traumas are and like how to kind of like start like turning themselves around, like obviously with not having you standing there being like, that's a trauma response, like how does somebody start and then like obviously eventually get to you but like help themselves a little bit?
Yeah, well, it's a tough question. I think it's important to highlight the myth that trauma, we use it for like conversational convenience to just say trauma refers to like the event. Right. We say that was a traumatic event.
Yeah.
But what we're really talking about is it's that the event led to an experience of trauma after the event. That trauma is not the event. Trauma is the experience.
What happened after?
Your response.
Why you're like that.
It's what's going on inside of you as a result of what's happened to you. So that's why certain things can happen to people. And one person has crippling post-traumatic stress disorder. The other one is just like, well, that sucked, but in a few days I'm okay, and I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
So what people can do to really start to do this self-work, and it's I always say meditation, even for just a very short period of time, will allow you to see the way your perceptions, your thoughts, and your feelings, and the way that you're relating to the world, and the way you see yourself in the world and your relationships just are unfolding. And is it really, are you really still being victimized, or are you still under attack by something from the past? Like, and that's what it does. It's very good at making people not realize that like what's going on, like is no longer happening.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that as soon as the event is over, we should just be okay. But we really have to look at like what is going on currently, like that reminds me, this feeling that I have in response to what's in my present moment. Have I had this before? And is this really a similar situation? So the best example of that is in relationships. It's easiest to do the trauma work and kind of start to reflect, like you said, like when you're with someone else, because all traumatization happens in the context of relationships, even even
friendships or like
and the lack and the support or the lack thereof after it. So like even if you get in a car accident, like it's not actually the car accident that leads to you feeling terrified to drive again and having a panic attack. It's immediately following how understanding and compassionate were the witnesses. If you get out of the car and the other driver starts screaming at you, right? Yes. You might jump back 15, 20 years to when you got screamed at for making a mistake as a kid. And it's like, well, I got in this car accident because I'm a bad person, just like I got screamed at all those other times. Or if they come out and they're like, oh, are you okay? And then your family is there immediately and they're just like taking care of your baseline needs and helping you come down from the adrenaline. You might not develop post-traumatic stress there. So again, it's what happens after socially that leads to the stress. The best example of that, I keep saying the best example, another great example of that in combat veterans, like why we see such an uptick in the post-traumatic stress, and that war has always been traumatizing for people. But when soldiers came home from World War II, there were confetti parades and they were celebrated, and the whole nation was like, on board with it. And then we see in late, like Vietnam and and then now, like when they come home, there's people that are against it, and then they're actually witnessing social divide from a bunch of other political issues.
Things. Wow.
So that's a big reason, I think, why when they come home, they're like, even if they didn't really see combat, they were just stationed there. Like they might develop post-traumatic stress because there was like the threat of violence all the time, and that taxed the nervous system. But they come home to social divide and nobody like really welcoming them with like a softness or compassion and understanding.
They're lost. So you think that if we celebrated like every time, like that would dramatically help them?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah.
Let's start doing that then, because so many people struggle.
No, you imagine seeing, because they don't decide what the wars are and what to do. They follow orders, and imagine doing and seeing what they do and see, and then coming home and having someone like throw things at you and tell you that you're a murderer, or like you're just a robot, like
or like
literally hating on you for serving your country. Like that is that's going to really
deter you,
stunt how you adjust to everyday life again. So it's always, and what is that? That's relational. That's how you relate to people. So all the trauma, all the development of the traumatic stress happens somehow in a context of relationships.
Damn. So if you could do, like, if you would recommend like one routine, like every day, it'd be like to meditate, besides going to like a therapist to try.
Meditation and breath work. Breath work is you don't even have to do like an actual meditative process if you just do intentional breath work. So that's any kind of breathing that's not just subconsciously involuntarily breathing, like making breathing something that you do, not something that just happens to you, can help. Because again, you're checking all the boxes, you're putting yourself back in the present moment, you're redistributing the flow of energy throughout your body, you're time stamping each moment, you're just continually bringing your mind back into the present moment. And we already have it built into us to recognize that in the present moment there's either something dangerous going on or there's nothing dangerous going on. So when there's nothing and you just keep bringing your awareness back to that, eventually your system is like, again, with the heart stuff, the heart looks up and it's like, hey, like we're actually all good down here. You can rely, and the brain's like, oh, okay, so I can stop the racing thoughts and the constant paranoia and anger and just chaos. Like, okay, cool.
Wow.
Like you're literally just helping the timekeeping of your experiences. So breath work, absolutely.
Yeah, that is.
Stretching and body work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just processing emotions through your body.
I guess it's the release of stress in a way, so.
Oh, I guess like,
when you're working out or anything else, like it's releasing that negative
like endorphins
energy.
or whatever.
And just like it's very simple, like just taking care of yourself physically. The bottom of the triangle, that's always the first recommendation is at following an event. Sleep, nutrition, hydration, move your body, stay around people that make you feel good. Like, so doing those things, like, and it is hard because the way the trauma is manifesting, it wants you to isolate. It wants you to just seek quick, like garbage dopamine hits for quick pleasure, just quick escapes. So if you can fight back against that and do any one of those things consistently, that's gonna be your building block until you're in a sweet spot where you're able to put some words to it, and then you can now invite a therapist or a life coach or somebody to like collaborate with you, because that's where the healing. You can do a lot of healing on yourself, and then you can really take it to the next level when you have a relationship.
Bring someone else.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. I think that one thing that even like I struggle with, and like I think a lot of people do, like in terms of like let's just say like therapy or like something along those lines of like help from somebody, is like finding the right person to like go to, or like, because I mean, like when I was a kid, like I went to therapy a couple of times, but like I was a young kid and like they always put me with like an older person, and like that was scary for me, so like now I always like think to myself like, oh, I want to go to therapy, but like where do you find the right person for you? So how do you like recommend to somebody like where to find the right person that like connects with you, or like that you also enjoy talking to, because you're not just going to sit across from somebody and unload on somebody that you don't like, or
absolutely.
not that you don't like, but that you don't feel connected or comfortable with,
Exactly. I think there's always going to be a bit of shopping involved.
Okay.
Sometimes people luck out and they just
find
strike gold right away.
Yeah.
Nowadays, with how much you can kind of bottleneck your search, you can search by what type of issue you're dealing with, like what type of degree the person has, their age, their gender. Like you can literally hand pick from a pool of people.
I'm sure when you went to therapy, they were just like,
Sometimes
here's
it's
like
so
2.
obvious.
Yeah, like
I hear that all the time.
And they're like-
I hear that all the time. They're like, when they tell me about the
Yeah.
people they saw when they were kids, and I'm like,
yeah.
whose idea was that? Who
Yeah.
thought that was gonna work? You got to have like a.
I didn't go.
When you're a
There
kid,
was
I
only
thought it
so I
was
don't know.
horrible. Like,
yeah, if they don't have like awesome, like really like wise and like just peaceful like grandma grandpa vibes, like it's gonna be weird. So
Right.
other
it was
than
like
that,
I
yeah.
felt like it was like a dark like office.
Yeah,
I'm like, what am I even doing here?
Yeah, yeah. You want to go.
It's
you
not
wanna,
relatable. Like
You
nothing.
want to. Now that I think about it, you want to go where the therapist is able to relate to you, but doesn't make any of the content about themselves. So like you can share that you went through something, and there's an art to self-disclosure, but a good therapist will level with you, but like keep it all focused on your story
gotcha.
and how these things are playing out to you. And if they do tell you a personal story, I've done this more and more as I've gotten more comfortable just being a therapist. Like I've gotten less guarded myself. I sometimes I do have to be like, oh shit. But the beauty of that is the next session I come back and I'm like, hey, I told you something last week that like I actually didn't realize how much emotion was behind that story still. That's something I have to work on. I'm sorry. This is your space. This is about you. It's not about me.
Yeah,
you don't
which is
have
totally
to,
okay. Yeah.
You don't have to make any room for my emotions in this space.
Yeah.
Right.
I can still care and be compassionate, and like I am a human, so I'm going to have an emotional response to what we're talking about, but it's not about that. It's about yours.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a gut feeling, but I would say also don't jump ship after one session with somebody. Like we tell our clients, like it might take 2, 3, sometimes even 5 sessions to actually realize that maybe it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But there's always a vulnerability involved, because in order to really see if they're going to be a good fit, you want to start to kind of squeeze out some of that stuff that you're guarded about. Like you can't tell if they're going to be a good fit if all you talk about is just like, well, this is how my day went. Like you eventually have to say like, okay, you don't have to say it all, but some stuff
that will eventually get you into the deeper things.
Right. Because the deeper stuff, in my own therapy, the turning point in my own therapy was 5 years in. It took me 5 years to admit something that I had experienced and dealt with. And like that, at that point, everything opened up. Like just the whole process got so much easier. And that was just like, if you could kind of divide life in chapters, like that would be like the change.
Beginning
like,
of a new chapter. Like,
like you tell them
with the same therapist, like
the same therapist. Yeah. They think that they're going to be like, well, you're too fucked up.
This is your problem. Yeah.
this is the worst thing I've ever heard. This is the problem, especially with men with holding things in. Your ego starts to create this story that like, this is too much to share.
Worst. Yeah.
So you got to keep this in. And you start to think that you're so unique and that it's just uncontrollable for other people to hear. And that's poisonous. And then you let it out and you're like, and they're like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, that's actually more common than you think. And it's just information. And it makes a lot of sense that based on that, you know, you've experienced X, Y, and Z. And it makes sense that you see things this way because you experienced that. And the weight off your shoulders
is tremendous.
So a message to anybody that is in therapy, or if you're thinking about starting it, you don't have to say it right away, but I promise the moment that you say that thing and like you're not like kicked out, the worst thing that happens is they actually care so much that they're like, I'm going to refer you. There's an art to doing this too. I'm going to refer you to somebody that literally works directly with that or has even more experience than me. So they're going to be
even better
and like wish you well and everything. That's the worst thing that happens. You're not going to get outed. You're not going to get exiled. And that's like a really soulful, like spiritual
like
thing that happens. You can't replicate that with like, you can't ask AI like how it feels. You know, you can't.
We're literally just talking about this.
Yeah, like it doesn't have a heart. Like it is awesome for a lot of things. But
we were
just
talking
education, but that's like it.
Tell the story about the lady who has about her husband.
Yeah, I had I am working with right now a guy who creates like it's called a chiro. basically it's a chat GPT, but more like aligned to you. In the back office of it, it tells you have to tell it like what your behaviors are, what your career is. So it gears all the information that it's spitting out to your specific type of person.
Right.
So it's more geared towards people. And I was talking to this one guy, and he was like, yeah, we're like helping this lady because her husband had passed away. And we're gearing the Cairo towards her talking to the thing so that it responds like her husband did, because she was so depressed she couldn't get out of her house or out of her bed.
Isn't that so crazy?
And
it sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Oh my god!
It got her out of her house.
Yeah.
And like it was cool. Like I'm happy for her to see like her get out of her house, and like it's something different because it got her out of her house to actually go see somebody, which is positive for her to get out of the house to actually go see like a physical therapist. But I think that that's very scary that's where it started.
Yeah.
Like I find that so wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary because
it's scary where it's going, and like that actually people use like don't actually go see a person because they're scared, but they'll use this AI thing to as a therapist.
Yeah.
That has like no degree,
no
not
emotion,
like,
you know, like it's not judging you in a
Right.
sense.
That's a little
you know?
scary.
Right. You can even find
And I'm sure it's gonna keep coming, but
they always say like everybody thinks their job's gonna get replaced by AI. And sometimes I go back and forth. I'm like, am I ever really gonna get
for everybody is,
But there's then that pegs the question is if consciousness is what we use to like create this connection that doesn't exist between any other, as far as we know, like any other sentient being besides humans, like if it's, does it emerge?
Yeah.
Or is it fundamental?
Yeah.
Right.
Then people are arguing, there are physicists that are like, well, the AI is conscious.
Yeah.
So, but
it's not.
I don't know. I don't think there's definitely like, you can certainly say like, I'm having a panic attack. What should I do? And ChatGPT will literally get you out of the, like, well, you can read. But ChatGPT can't, and if ChatGPT is out there listening, I thank you for so much. I just one little critique out there is that like that moment, that the relief I felt when I told therapists that thing, or when people just have these moments where they're just washed over with intense emotion, where they finally start to live their lives and release that emotional release, and sitting and having like a calm, like coherent heart and just being like just sitting there and witnessing that. Like a machine can't.
It's not going to do that. Yeah.
It's too built into our biology, like to replicate, I think.
Or to respond to that, like in a compassionate way. You know, you don't get the response of, oh, well, that's not that bad. You know, when you may think it's the worst, you don't get that response. You get like probably an automated response of like, holy, not like, holy shit, this is terrible, but like, it's just going to give you like the most generic go meditate response.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what therapy really is. Everybody thinks the old school view is therapy is like, you have to be this brick wall that is not subjective. You can be, there's an art to matching the intensity. Like if someone's laughing, you laugh with them. If someone's like ferociously angry, they're telling you like, and then they said, blah, blah, blah. Can you believe she did that? And I'm like, no way. Oh my God. What an asshole. Like you match it, but you remain like neutral and non-judgmental. And that's the key. But there is something so powerful. Like, again, the machine might say like, I noticed that you're having a trauma response. Would you like recommendations for books to read on the trauma? Or here's what you can do. But I sit there and I'm breathing, like getting into that alpha state, breathing, what we were talking about before, just calm, and then just being like sighing with them. Like, God, like, man, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I cannot
and
imagine
having that
what
is
like.
what
It is, I cannot imagine what that was like for you. And like, that is
way better than
it's not profound.
You're typing app.
Like that's bringing your whole body into it. Like that's not something I didn't have to read in a textbook to say that.
Yeah.
So
it's just what you've learned from being
working with people.
Crazy.
And of course, had someone do it
too.
Me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Being
and it worked. So you're like, I'm gonna help. That's how I'm gonna help somebody else.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
have gone through it yourself.
Back to your original question a little while ago about like what I had to do to then become one. that I was in the seat as a client for a decade, almost a decade before I really started getting into practice. And that really helped big time. Now they recommend you go to school, you do it in school.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, really?
I started when I was 21, right when I got out of college, and I didn't get my degree and start seeing clients until I was like 26, 27, and then like officially practicing with a license until I was 31. So I've done a lot more hours like as a client.
Yeah. Which is, I think it's important to go more into like a little bit deeper. Like for people, at least I feel like a lot of people our age, like maybe not our age, but like the older generation, I feel like for me personally, like I feel like I'm so like numb to things because of like so much that's happened. Like whether that's like losing somebody or just like going through like adrenaline, like responses. Like how do you not feel so like, not that because I don't really want to be like responsive to things. And that sounds horrible, but like I feel like I'm so numb to like death or like just like responses like in general,
you're desensitized.
Yeah, because like it's like our sister passed away from cancer when she was 6, and that was like six years ago. So like that, like, and I feel like with going through that and like seeing her go through that, like it's like I never like
nothing else could really hurt as bad.
Yeah, like nothing could like be like that bad, but like I was just like so positive, like okay, she's like not in pain, whatever, like these things that like you tell yourself like it's better now. And like I feel like now I'm so numb. Like we had like an incident like the other day and like my adrenaline was like pumping, but like after that then I was just like it happened, like, and now I'm like just like so like numb to like bad things. And like if somebody's like, oh, like my dog passed away, I'm like, yeah, I had like 5 of those. You know, like I don't feel like I feel like numb to it, and like no sympathy for them because everything's horrible, but just like I don't really feel like I want to feel crying for them, you know, but like how do you like get away from like a little bit of that numb feeling or like stone feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's the hardest, like even for like not our generation, because I feel like our generation's soft, but like I feel like that's a little bit of the older generation that's like
just stone-faced, stoic, and if like, you just don't feel it.
Nothing's happening, close, like don't look. Well, you know, like,
you asked before, and this is not, I'm quite literally like armchair diagnosing, and I don't even like, I never use mental illness. Like I really don't. It's a psychological injury. That's what it is. It's trauma is a biological response to stress. Yeah. So what you were asking, how does someone know if they're holding something? Because not everybody has post-traumatic stress disorder, like diagnosable, but everyone has painful memories.
Of course. Yeah.
Undigested life experience. So that might tell you that experience for you is just not fully digested in a way. So it's almost like if you eat something too fast and for a little while after you start like burping it up. Yeah. And it almost like you telling somebody like you're trying to like hold something down and you're just like holding it down. Like that's, we do that with our life experience, with our emotions. So that numbness is a bit of a dissociation, which was the most important thing is don't judge yourself negatively for it. Like I'm emotionless or I don't have sympathy because I can't feel bad for other people. No, it was survival for you at that point to just detach from the visceral sensation of that grief because it hurts so badly. It's just like if we go into shock from a physical injury, like we get so much adrenaline, it blocks pain. So your baseline might be a little extra adrenaline because you're just kind of always riding this wave of blocking pain. And then it cranks up and you really can't feel anything. But you need to, there's no way to like nitpick which emotions we can not feel. You gotta feel everything. It's a full spectrum. But a good example that I like to use is like when someone like a carbonated drink, like a lot of times when we try to process things on our own, it's like shaking up the bottle and then just twisting the cap off right away. So what happened, and then you twist it back on really quick to stop it from exploding everywhere. So in your situation, it would be finding ways to, in a controlled environment or a place where you feel safe, just slowly twist the cap off, and just where the air starts to hiss out. So the foam might rise up to the top, but it doesn't fully explode everywhere. So you can just gradually let some of that out. So that's one thing we do too, is like when someone, you can kind of grow the phobia of your feeling, because that's what dissociation is. It's like a phobia of like your own emotional state from the traumas. And we just that's the desensitization piece to EMDR. You desensitize, like someone was afraid of a spider, like they get a few feet closer every session. Eventually, the way they can stand right next to it and be okay. You gradually approach the emotional state. So you feel, just sit with the way that sadness feels for 30 seconds. And then your subconscious is like, hey, you just felt the full like brunt of that sadness for 30 seconds, and the universe is lying exactly
still
as
there.
it is. You didn't die, you didn't panic, like everything's
happened.
okay. Next week, let's try a minute and a half. And then eventually it just shrinks how big that emotion feels. And it's digestible.
That's interesting.
So, yeah.
And I feel like everybody, tries to, like everybody today, like says like I'm depressed, like on social media. Like I feel like social media is such like a trend for like trying to like diagnose things.
Yeah, the suffering Olympics.
Just like I'm like in like everybody's like, oh, I'm so depressed, and I'm just like,
do you actually know what that means?
do you actually are you okay? Like what, like over what? Like nothing.
It's not just sadness or a bad mood. Depression is not a bad mood. It's a
serious thing. Like
it's an energetic state. It's another way. Like depression to me, what do you do when you want to make something, when you want to preserve something and make it last longer? Like food, you freeze it, right? So like if you look at the heat signatures from someone who's truly chemically depressed, there's not a lot going on. It's just conservation. Like their body is cooled off. It's cooled down. So depression is really like it's an act of conservation. It's like,
oh wow,
we feel like this threat, or life in general, or the trauma is so big, I can't take it on. So I'm just going to shut everything down and just try to ride it out until something comes and saves me, or the threat just takes care of itself, disappears. So it's almost like us approaching like playing dead.
Wow.
Like it sounds morbid, but like we literally you just slow everything down, like just enough energy to keep your heart pumping and the electrical current through your body, but no appetite, no thoughts, no desire to do anything. There's no mobilization. It's just like, just stay still and wait for something to pass. And the opposite of that is your fight or flight.
Right.
So like you gotta fight it off. But we're, again, generationally and just the state of the world, we're fighting, or there's so many things that are not able to be physically fought. You can't run away from them because it's global. And then also doing nothing doesn't solve the problem. So we feel very stuck and like trapped. It's like my nervous system literally hasn't evolved another way to handle this problem.
Right.
So that's what I feel like. That's good. That's like, people romanticize depression so much. Like, oh, I just have to like learn how to think better and feel better. And it's like, no, like a lot of it is just getting your body like more resilient and moving. That's why the movement is so helpful. Like, you got to activate and build trust in it that it can withstand pressure. And that lifts a depression.
That's really cool. I think a lot, like it puts so much of a hold on people, like, and even nowadays, like with like this, like we said before, like all the stress that we have on every day, whether that's, just like things that we have to do, or, whatever we're thinking about, or keeping your body healthy, all these things we're trying to do. And, there's some people who can't even like get up out of bed. So I think it's important to like just do small
mindful,
steps and be mindful of those small steps, and even give yourself courage when you're doing those small things,
right.
you know, because the small things lead to bigger things. And even if
compound.
you can get up, just get out of your bed, and you'll be one step closer to
absolutely
where you're going.
I saw this meme the other day, it's like the guy sitting in the chair with his head in his hands, and there's all these quotations around. It's like seed oils, microplastics, Wi-Fi, radiation, your clothes are loaded with chemicals, like Red 40.
Detergent,
The age of information, again, comes with so many advantages, but so many disadvantages. That they're just
people are like an overload trying to think of like
just like literally
what to change, but it's like everything next.
I'm under attack by like the artificial modern world. Like, how do I just exist? Or then and it doesn't help to just always hear like people used to be like this and they were so much healthier. It's like that lifestyle is still reserved for people that have like more freedom. Well, should be careful the way I say this. Like a lot of it is just effort. But again, like the majority of people that are the ones that are victims of some of the illnesses that are related to these things don't have the money and the resources and the freedom of time to
research,
to eat fully carnivore and get their feet connected with nature, and afford like 100% cotton or wool, like or clothing, and not polyester.
Red lights, grounding mat that costs $10,000.
Yeah, literally.
It's it is. If you want to live that way, I used to be more on the other side of like bullshit that it's only for the wealthy, but like, since getting involved with all the guys over in the NACE over the last year and a half, like you're like, well, if I want that lifestyle, like go and get it.
Go get it.
Go and get it. But at the same time, the more like, I guess, I don't know, like therapists or just more like worldly understanding is like, I know it's still so far-fetched for some people out there. Really needed to really.
It is, but there's also small things that you could do, right? Like instead of going and buying the $5,000 or $10,000 grounding mat, like going outside, like and putting your feet on the grass.
Ground,
you know?
Exactly.
Like some of the bigger things aren't attainable, like red lights or something like that, you know, that you need to actually buy. But like the smaller things are like breath work is obtainable. You know, you don't have to buy that, or meditation or nature, or you know, there's like those small things that you could start with and lead like into bigger things.
Right. People absolutely think that they see the magnitude of like, I'm being told by 10X. Like by mainstream health that I have to do all of these things to fix my health. So I might as well it's like, it's another form of analysis paralysis. Like I'm just going to do none of them because I can't do all of them. But you can absolutely compound the effects of doing even just one of those.
Do one for 30 days and then add something else.
Exactly.
I think something that like we could get a little bit into is like everybody has like an addiction. Whether that's a good addiction, or like being addicted to like your job, or like actually being addicted to like drugs and alcohol, or like something like that. And like, how can somebody who's addicted either become aware that they are addicted and start to change through therapy, or how can they, you know, just do something different to get out of their situation of addiction? Whether it's, you know, like I said, some people would say I'm so addicted like to work, you know, or like, you know, something that's way worse for you.
Yeah, it's I know it's a problem of dependency. Like I think the first thing to become aware of is, how do you feel when you don't have access to that thing? And that will tell you, you might love your job so much that you're like, oh, I can't wait to go to work tomorrow.
Right.
But if you literally cannot stop working, or else, again, like I said before, the idle mind kicks in and like you just overran with chaos because you're like not physically working right now and doing something. But yeah, addiction is a lot of different angles to that. A lot of, again, like everything, a lot of old science, a lot of new science.
Yeah.
But that awareness of just how you feel when you don't have it, and I think that goes hand in hand with understanding if there's feelings or thoughts that you want, that you'd be better off not being aware of. And if you have something like that, that's what it really is. Like addiction is actually, it's one of my favorite quotes. Addiction is the solution that became a problem. So
that's true. Yeah,
people
that's
are
so
wired
true.
a certain way. Like having traumatic stress stored in your body is one of the quickest ways to become addicted to something, because addiction is also just all associative memory. Like you feel some way internally that is unpleasant. You get something external, and now your brain creates a memory. It's like we memorize that if we get that thing, we will feel this way, which is better than how we normally feel. So, where was I going with that?
That's crazy.
So that was the solution. It's like, oh, thank God. So
until it gets to be too much.
Exactly, because it's not generated internally. It's like that's why it's a they call, like, you'll see a store for like a liquor store, it'll be like wine and spirits. Like, that was an old belief that I currently still believe, like using substances and alcohol was a way for people to try and get connected to something larger than themselves. Another thing that's really helpful, put yourself around other people who are in recovery or whether they're
not doing
30
that,
years or
days.
they've got 30 minutes where they've decided to be clean, and just see how it feels to be around them and if you can relate to them. Because that's what it was for me. Even though it didn't stick, the first time I ever tried was at Alcoholics Anonymous. And even though that's not the entity that ended up helping you for me, and not that it never helped, it just didn't stick long term. I think I was
a lot of people it doesn't,
I think I was too young. I didn't really want to stop. But I did do about 6 months the first time I ever went, and I'll never forget the first meeting I went to. I was like, I feel like all these guys in here, like I'm relating to everything they're saying. And like, there's no way that's a coincidence. So
they're also probably a lot older than you. All the people that were in there too. And that might scare people as well. Like and being in a situation that everybody's, that may have been this, like, not relatable to you in a sense.
I'll tell you, it was like at the time I'm just sitting up a little bit. At the time I had a bit of that like college know-it-all, like hippie atheist vibe going on, where like I was like so scientific that like I just didn't believe a whole lot of, or maybe it was agnostic, where you're like, I don't know if I necessarily believe in a higher power, but I can't disprove it.
Exactly.
I was in that realm.
Which a lot of people are.
And that's what they call white knuckle sober. So for 6 months, I didn't do anything, but like I didn't have a connection to anything greater than myself and no purpose. So I really resisted that. I did half of the 12 steps, and on the 6th or 7th step, when they asked you to just like, okay, well, just pray for like these character defects to like be removed. I just couldn't, I argued with that in my head so much. I'm like, I don't believe in that. Like, we're a result of like what happens to us. I just don't have these like arbitrary defects. So I wasn't ready to be spiritual at that point either. And then someone said something, I left. A year later, I came back and someone said something in a meeting, and they were like, they used me as like downward social comparison. They were like, oh, cause me and the kid that I went with, we both said, we were like, we've been here before, but we're back. Like everybody said, blah, 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 got like 4 days clean. And, this person was like, I know that if I don't come every day, I could end up like these guys. And like, I'm sure she didn't really mean it how it sounded, but at 23 years old, I was like, fuck you. So, and then I ran for another 10 years. Social connection is the antidote. It really is. It's not just abstinence. Of course, not putting anything in your body helps. But what I think sustains it, and what's helped me sustain it for a year and a half now, is the connection, is the social connection, real meaningful connection where people
like
are
applaudance,
emotionally safe to be vulnerable around, and there's no like superficial competition. Like, it's just really safe to like just dump out like
everything,
painful things, and not get judged negatively for it. And all of a sudden now, like, that feeling that you're trying to block out doesn't feel so shitty anymore. It's so it's actually okay to like have that feeling. You don't need to numb it.
Which I think is hard for at least people now, because there's one way you could go, right? You could put yourself with those better people, which is what you've done and how, you know, you've gotten out of it. Or, you know, you can go and be with the group of people that still go out every night, do drugs, and, you know, are in the bar. Like, you could be social in both of those ways. And one is the way that's going to, you know, take you out and bring you back down the same road, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that I think a lot of people have to, like, realize, or maybe that they struggle with, is, like, getting out of, like, the current circle that they're in, which is maybe that going out and doing all those things and finding people who don't do those things. And I think maybe that's what people fear, is that alone stage where they're trying to find those new people to hang out with, but, like, that are better, and then they just fall back into the old habits because they don't find them quickly.
I'm really glad you said that, because that's exactly, that is the hardest thing. Because you realize when you were using with people, you may have actually been friends before too, but, like, you don't have to do anything. You just around them. And I still hang around a lot of friends that I used to do stuff with. I don't do that stuff with them anymore, and they understand that. But I'd be lying if I said that I don't still leave those situations. It's all on me, and I'm like, wow, like, I'm able to detach from it. I was like, that's how powerful addiction is, and how powerful memory is, that like, even though I know how bad my life would turn out, I miss that connection there, because it's connection in both ways. Like, you're connecting with, like, kind of checking out, like, you're just matching states, like, we're all zonked out together. So that's why I should add that to, like, when I say social connection is the antidote. You don't just hang out with people that are sober, like, do things with them. You have to take action with people, and you do those things with them, and then that's where the real connection happens. So for me, it was doing the,
and especially at a young age, because who do you find at I mean, me and Tor now, like, are 23. Like, who do you find at 23 that's not doing that stuff? Nobody.
So hard. So hard.
Ask me who I hang out with, like, our age. Nobody. You know, like, it's true, unfortunately, and it's really sad. You know, like, I see people all the time that.
And when we do find someone, we're like, what?
Like, where have you been? But it's really sad to even see, like, kids, like, from, like, high school, or, like, just, like, you know, college, or that we used to be friends with, just, like, down, like, that shitty path of, like, where everybody else is going too, you know?
No, you just
it's scary.
You keep hammering in this space, and you're gonna of course you're gonna connect with people that are more outliers. You hear it all the time. It's so easy to be like, you just do, like, the baseline right thing now, and you're already, like, an outlier. You're above average. Like, so many kids. I really feel sorry.
Do you get a younger generation in your practice because of that?
Yeah. It's really tough. For me, like, I know, like, if I grew up with, like, how popular vapes are, and, like, certain other things, like, I would have been screwed. Like, I got out of college as even social media, or, like, some of the more advanced devices. Like, I'm cool with, like, just being right where I'm at with technology, but, like, even, like, technology and social media, and then some of the other vices, like, if I was 10 years younger with the same mentality, like, habits that I had, like, I would have been in even more trouble. So I try to relate to them the best that I can, but I really understand how hard it is, even just teenagers. But people will do anything to connect to a group, especially as teenagers. It is the most intrinsic part of our nature. You have to find a group to connect to, or at least one other person to connect to. You see it all the time in solitary confinement. Like, people literally die from being alone for long enough,
or lose their marbles,
completely lose their mind. They can't even have a relationship anymore. You have to connect, so when kids don't have another outlet, if the only ways to connect are by using things or making bad decisions, they're going to do it at the end of the day, no matter how long they resist, no matter how many teachers tell them otherwise, no matter how stable or helpful their home life is. Like, they're gonna be like, I have to connect to this group. So,
which is very true.
Crazy.
I think one question that I'll, like, leave you with is, if you could write on a mirror one message to the world, and in the morning it would be blasted out to every mirror all over the place, and everybody would see it, what would it be?
I read a quote recently. It's a little long. I don't know if I'd write the whole thing, but can I just read that quote?
Yeah. Go for it.
Do it.
Because it ties into
Definitely
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a quote by Arthur Miller.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so this is about psychoanalysis, which is just old school talk therapy.
Yep.
Like that,
Yeah.
the subconscious was what drives everything.
Yep.
Okay.
So he says, my argument with so much of psychoanalysis is the preconception that suffering is a mistake or a sign of weakness or a sign even of illness, when in fact, possibly the greatest truths we know have come out of people's suffering. So maybe on the mirror, be like, it's okay to suffer.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, that's actually really good.
That's a good one. I like
recycle
that.
your
It's
pain.
okay to suffer.
Like
yeah.
pain is just
Doesn't
energy.
mean it's like weak. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's another.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's
very-
okay to suffer.
Yeah, that's huge because
Suffering is a breeding ground for growth.
Yeah.
Some combination of that. I'm sorry that took so long.
No, but that was really powerful. So thank
Yeah.
you. We appreciate you for coming and being on our podcast. So thank you so much. We appreciate your time,
No,
Sean.
you're very welcome, and thank you
you.
so much. It's an awesome conversation.
So awesome.
This
Thank
is
you so
really cool
much.
what you guys are doing. Yeah, I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Twins out.